Hello everyone, this is Nin10Guy
and Barry Bobbins.
And we just watched the Microsoft press conference that they did this morning, and we're making a video giving our impressions on it. So let's start off with the new next-gen Xbox, the Xbox One. What did you think of the system?
Me? Okay. We should probably do this in steps. So, I'm just going to start off with the general idea when we saw the console, what our thoughts were. In all honesty, it actually looks like a pretty decent console, but it's left me with a lot of questions. First one being, now they said this during the rest of the conference, but we may as well talk about it now. The console, I believe, will come packaged with a Kinect. Now, here's what I'm trying to figure out.
A brand new Kinect, I guess, a more updated Kinect.
Yeah.
Which I really don't understand because... I'm sorry, people, but the Kinect is total garbage.
It is. Now, true, the Kinect does come with some new features to it, but quite frankly, it seems really redundant, and it seems to just, I don't know, it's a thing for really, 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 really lazy people or hipsters. That's it. But now, let's kind of get on to this. They said that they've been toting around how important this will be to the console and stuff, so it's left me with the burning question: is the Kinect going to be necessary for the console? Now, I believe that they're doing an interview, Spike TV is with the guy that was in charge of the conference. We're not going to go and watch it, though. That's going to take up too much of our time. But I'm not even sure if that question will be asked. But, I mean, it's kind of worrisome because, for myself, I would not buy an Xbox One, as they're calling it. I wouldn't buy it if it's gonna require the Kinect that much. That's a waste of money.
I'm just gonna say this right now. I really, really hate that title, Xbox One. Like, I mean, you're gonna call it the Xbox One. What do you call the original Xbox then?
They just call it the Xbox, I guess. But still, it really gets in the way. And
I mean, honestly, Xbox Infinity actually sounds like a more fitting name.
Yeah, I believe somebody else had said, or a lot of people had been saying that. Would have been a nice name, yeah.
Can I give my impressions on the console?
Yeah.
Okay, the design, it's futuristic looking, I will say that, but it's probably a little bit too basic. I mean, it's not as basic looking as the Wii U's design, but this is kind of a minor complaint, but this would have been so badass if they did this. If they actually put wood grain on the system, no, I'm not joking. I'm just saying that would actually be kind of cool. Like, I'm not complaining. I'm not joking. I'm just saying it would be kind of cool if they actually put wood grain on the system, just like the Atari 2600, because then it would be going back to that classy kind of style of, like, the second generation of consoles. Because, to me, back then, consoles had class back then. But, I really don't care about the new Kinect. The system is going to be using what looks like CDs because it's got that crack on it like the PS3 and the Wii had. Honestly, in terms of the console, like the actual, structure of the system, the thing that really impressed me was the controller. I actually like the design. Like, so far, I like the design of the controller a lot more than the Xbox 360's controller. It looks more comfortable. It looks more spread out, and the D-pad actually looks, it looks way better built because the Xbox 360's D-pad and the original Xbox D-pad, they just really weren't that great. It felt really loose. It was kind of finicky. Like, I mean, if you're playing a game like Pac-Man or Sonic or any 2D platformer with the D-pad, it just feels so unnatural because you're not really getting... You don't feel like you're in control that well. So the D-pad on this new Xbox actually looks a lot more like the D-pad on the... I'd say the original Nintendo, like the NES, like where it's more responsive. So if you're like into platforming games, like 2D platformers, and you prefer a D-pad, this D-pad actually looks pretty well, and it looks like it'll get the job done for that. But the Xbox 360 D-pad, I'd say the original Xbox and the Xbox 360, the D-pad on those controllers were pretty good for hot swapping. Like if you wanted to,
Oh, you mean hotkeying?
Hotkeying, yeah. Like when you're switching through menus and stuff like that, and you're equipping weapons. I'm just saying, like when you're playing like a platformer or something, the D-pad on the Xbox 360 and the original Xbox were not great for that. So I'm glad that Microsoft fixed that. is it going to use AA batteries, or is it going to use rechargeable batteries like the PS3 controller had?
That should actually be mentioned too. If you haven't seen the press conference, then we'll let you know. The controller, they kind of did away with the battery pack on the back that usually got in your way. It will still take batteries, but the way that they've implemented it now, it's more flattened, and I believe that it's going to make it more comfortable for holding. Although personally myself, I didn't find as many problems with holding the 360 controller, but this makes it a bit better, I think. So far, I don't know. Now, looking at it, I don't know if that's a start and select button that I saw on it. I believe that it is. I don't know if they still have the original, like, sort of 360 style menu button. I think they might still have that.
I'm pretty sure it's above the start and select button.
Yeah. It looks a little bit odd because it looks almost like a battery pack added onto the top or something. It's kind of funny looking. You should look it up if you get a chance. And no, it will not be a Frankenstein controller like the PS4 by the looks of it. I do not believe it has a touch pad. So I'm glad for that, because personally I don't like it. I mean, if you're going to do touch anything, you may as well just go and do what the Wii U is doing and have an actual touch screen. So kudos to Microsoft for keeping it fairly simple. Should we move on from the console itself now?
Yeah, so after when they showed off the console, they showed off pretty much just a lot of multimedia stuff,
so much multimedia! Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
But ladies and gentlemen, okay, if you're looking for a console, pretty much don't get the new Xbox, because all they were talking about was multimedia. Now, I will grant you this. It is nice how you can swap between some things really quickly. But is that really going to sell a console to you guys who I'm assuming are gamers? Do you really want something that can switch you between, watching TiVo or whatever you call it, that weird television drama stuff, to music and all these things? I will grant you, the music idea is kind of cool, except you probably have to pay for it, which kind of is unfortunate. It's also nice to switch. Okay, if you're watching TV shows through it, then it means that you can skip the commercials by switching to and playing your video game for like 15 minutes or whatever, or however long commercials go. So that is kind of nifty that way. And you can do it all through voice commands, which to me seems really lazy. But one thing I'm slightly afraid of, and call me paranoid, but I mean, I don't trust technology as far as I can throw it or whatever. But
it would be kind of nice if, all those commands, like if we had the option to use it with the actual controller, like push the Xbox button or whatever, and then, do these commands through the controller rather than just doing them through the voice commands.
I think that they will still do them through the controller, I hope, because if that little voice receptor thing is to break somehow, then that's going to cause gamers anybody a huge problem with going between things. I mean,
by the looks of it, it looks like that new Kinect is going to be bundled with the system.
But here's what scares me too, is that they are almost banking on the Kinect. They're like making this thing a central piece to the new console, and that's dangerous, because to me, I would never use that thing. I would never use it, and I would rather not have it. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are saying, for the Wii U at least, well, blah-de-da-da-da, the Wii U is pretty much the same thing. But the Wii U doesn't require voice commands. It's very simplistic in the way that it's kind of manual. And I know a lot of you think, well, manual sucks, and maybe that's because you're lazy. I'm kidding, but for me, manual is kind of a guarantee that things will work. If they don't work out, then it's as simple, go and get the buttons fixed or whatever you have to do. But for something as complex as like voice receivers, that can be a little more difficult to fix, I would assume. You may even have to send it back to Microsoft to get it fixed. And I'm sure that they'd get it fixed up pretty good, but I mean, after the console's life has run out, after they've moved on to the Xbox 2, then you're kind of out of luck in that regard. So it can be a problem.
Yeah. What other multimedia stuff did they show off? Like, I mean, okay, I just want to say this really quickly. The main thing that really bothers me is Microsoft is a company that always seems to put the multimedia first and put the games, back in the trunk or whatever. And when you're marketing a video game console, you shouldn't do that. You should always put the games first. Then you can worry about the multimedia. But the thing that really disappointed me was there was a lack of games that they showed, but we'll get into that later. They mostly were just showing off the console because there's all these different types of things that you can do. I hate to say it, but honestly, it really didn't interest me because most of the stuff that they showed was stuff that I really don't care for and I don't think I would really use.
Can I just actually interrupt on that note?
Yeah.
The console will be good maybe for sports fans, but here's the issue with the sports fans dealie.
Where you can actually see their, this player's profile and stuff like that when you're watching TV.
And they have something called your fantasy team. Now, I believe that's where you take all of your favorite players and you put them onto a fantasy team that you've created or whatever. And, they get points and stuff and they get ranked. And, it's kind of a cool thing. But, I mean, that's only good for sports fans. To those of you gamers that don't actually care about sports, what's the point? And on that note as well, they are now doing kind of an exclusive dealie with NFL, the NFL Association, I mean. And I mean, as interesting as that is, I mean, really, who cares outside of the United States? Canadians, Europeans, the Japanese, everybody across the world doesn't care. It's only, like, an American thing. And I'm sorry, but there's only so many people in the U.S. that are going to actually care about that, too. And I doubt that all of them are going to buy an Xbox One just because of that. It seems really unrealistic to think. So they've really put their eggs into the wrong basket with that one. What they should have probably done is they probably should have tried to make some sort of a partnership with, I don't know, Spike TV maybe? I mean, that's just one example, but there are numerous other things that they could have done other than the NFL that would have worked well. But, I mean, even still, people aren't going to buy this. I'm assuming you guys aren't going to buy this for the multimedia. If you're like us, then you're buying it for the games.
And unfortunately, the Xbox One, I should say, didn't impress in terms of games.
On that note, though, do you want to tell them about Microsoft's little surprise for, everybody's favorite Microsoft franchise?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think we're pretty much done with the whole multimedia topics, so, yeah, they got Steven Spielberg. Is that the one you're looking for?
Yeah.
They got Steven Spielberg to direct a Halo TV series. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest. This may be, interesting for a lot of Halo fans. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of Halo, so this doesn't interest me. But for you Halo, fanatics out there, this might interest you. But here's the kicker about Halo. Not to sound like a jerk by saying this, but myself and Barry Bobbins, we feel that Halo should have died around after Halo 3 happened, because remember the whole thing when it said something like finish the fight or something like that, and Halo 3, the ending of, Halo 3 was supposed to conclude the whole Halo series, but now they're just constantly rehashing more and more and more Halo stuff.
Thanks to 343 Studios. Don't blame Bungie. Sorry to interrupt, but Bungie did a fine job, and now their legacy is more or less being, completely wrecked. So I feel bad for Bungie. Any Bungie fans out there, I'm feeling kind of your pain right now, I think.
Yeah. I'm just saying, when you tell somebody that, this game is supposed to conclude everything that happens, conclude it. Okay, just stop making more stuff, because now you're getting people that impression that you're just milking it and you're just banking on it, really, and yeah. We should change the topic before.
Actually, I just wanted to mention one last thing. The thing that scares me about this Halo TV series as well is that, honestly, it could really revive or totally kill the Halo franchise. It could be so awesome, everybody loves it, and it appeals to a brand new audience as well. Or it could completely flop in getting a new audience, and the old Halo fans could end up hating it as well. So this Halo game, Halo TV series, is actually a dangerous move for Microsoft. And Steven Spielberg, might I add. I respect him, but this is really something big to bank on, I think. So
when Steven Spielberg mentioned Pong, I was like, oh yes, a good game. But anyway, yeah, should we start talking about games now? Like, we talked about multimedia, we talked about the Halo TV series.
I just want to say, like...
Or is there anything else you want to mention?
Well, there's not really much else to say about the multimedia. Oh, they have Skype, which I'll admit is kind of interesting because I'm sure for a lot of people, you'd like to be able to talk to people while you're playing some games. So, I mean, I can't blame you there. But, they're bringing back Internet Explorer. I guess they haven't heard of Firefox yet.
Well, let's put it this way: Internet Explorer is run by Microsoft, so they want to get it on the 360, the Xbox One.
But it doesn't work all that great. Anyway, sorry. I'm just trying to say that they're putting all this money into this multimedia stuff. If you get a chance, please go and look some of it up because we probably missed a lot. But it's really just going to increase the price of the console, and it's going to give you guys back very little.
And not to mention that to do most of these things, you know, you have to have an Xbox Live, and to have Xbox Live, you have to pay a monthly fee, which also doesn't help at all, really.
They're really trying to emphasize the connectivity between your smartphones. Oh yeah, that reminded me. They're bringing back the smart glass, guys. Happy Easter, birthday, Christmas,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas!
Oh, do we really want the freaking smart glass? Like,
no,
when they first showed that at last year's E3, I was literally facepalming. I was like, no, just no.
So, yeah, they're bringing all this stuff in that is, quite frankly, probably going to get in the way of your gaming experience. So, just so you know, you're probably going to have a lot of trouble gaming with this system. And I'm not trying to sound like a fanboy here, but seriously, when I buy a system, I want to buy a game system. Anyways, though, before we get any more off topic with that, yes, let's move into games. The most important part.
And what is the best way to kick this all off? Electronic Arts!
Your favorite...
Motherfucking Electronic Arts steps in and says, we have four sports games!
Sports games! They didn't talk about Battlefield 4. They didn't talk about a new Mass Effect game, although I heard they
They didn't talk about a new Road Rash game.
Or how about Dragon Age? Or any other game they've ever made. They talk about 4 sports games that'll probably sell horribly, including FIFA 14, which is hilarious because they said that they wouldn't make it on the Wii U because FIFA 13 sold horribly. I wonder if maybe that's because...
FIFA 13 sold horribly on the Wii U. Yeah. So, what makes them think that FIFA 14 is going to sell well on the Xbox One? Like, honestly, it's a next-generation console. Most consumers don't want to invest money on a next-gen console. Sorry
to interrupt, but I just wanted to make this point before you do. We'll talk about it together, though. Just so you guys know, there's been a lot of hubbub about, EA not supporting Nintendo, and I'm beginning to get a little bit suspicious of it. I actually think that EA has always had this ulterior motive, because guess what they also announced? An exclusive partnership with Microsoft, just like they announced with the Wii U before they kicked it. Yeah, they just did a 360.
No pun intended.
With Microsoft. I kid you not. Personally, I am really sick and tired of this. For any of you who have been paying attention to EA since 2008, 2009, they have been gouging us in the eye since years ago with DRM and all sorts of other things, and they are continuing to do it. This whole thing with Nintendo, the Wii U not being powerful enough, I will bet you money that this was all because they thought their games would sell better on the Xbox One. I bet you money that's why they did it.
Actually, it's funny because they said, oh, well, we're not going to have Frostbite 3 and Frostbite 2 on the Wii U because the Wii U can't run it. However, we have Frostbite 3 and 2 running on the Xbox 360, PS3, and mobile devices and smartphones. So if you're running that shit on smartphones, why can't it run on the Wii U?
I just want to get this out of the way before we get to...
Oh, and not to mention that Crytek said that Crysis 3 was running beautifully on the Wii U. The reason why it was not released on the Wii U was because EA stepped in and said, oh, we don't want to support the Wii U, so we're not going to release it on the Wii U.
Yeah. Pretty much, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, actually, the main reason why, EA is not supporting the Wii U and Nintendo is because EA walked up to Nintendo and said, hey, we want Origin on the Wii U. And Nintendo said no because we want to treat all third-party companies equally. So EA had a little bit of a hissy fit and said, you know what, screw you, Nintendo, we're not going to be supporting you. I mean, they've done this shit with, Valve. Like, they wanted to do something on Steam or something that wasn't making Valve happy, and Valve said no, so they got a hissy fit, so they decided to create their own online store called Origin. But anyway, we're getting off topic. Should we go back to the whole Xbox thing?
Yeah, hold on. I just want to mention, though, just to kind of keep this, to get this out of the way, if anybody is coming onto this video saying that the Wii U is underpowered, listen, we saw actually what was trailers for the new Xbox, and quite frankly, the graphics looked the same as the 360. I couldn't tell a difference. Although there was one game that I could tell a difference with, but we'll get into that later. And just so you know, it has nothing to do with Microsoft. It has to do with the developers. So congratulations to those developers. But I would like to say, if you're making this console generation about power, you're wasting your time, because if the new Xbox is powered or overpowered or whatever, congratulations to you for buying it, because it's got nothing to support it in terms of games. And let's get into that right now. The games.
Okay, so besides the EA crap that they showed us a FIFA 14, they showed us a new Madden, they showed us a...
NBA.
Yeah, basketball. What was the other one? Was it hockey or something? I can't remember what the fourth one was. But, so besides the EA stuff, Microsoft showed off another game called... Oh yeah, before I get to that one, Microsoft announced Forza 5 for the next Xbox. I mean, no offense, guys, but that game really doesn't interest me because I really don't want to piss off a lot of people by saying this, but to me, it's just another generic racing game, honestly. Like, I have very little interest in it. But besides Forza 5, we got another game called... What was it called again?
Quantum something or other. I can't remember the name of it.
I can't remember. Quantum something. I can't remember what it was, but they didn't show any gameplay of it. They just showed a trailer, and the trailer looks cool, but really, they didn't really give a whole lot of information about the game, so you really have no clue what the game is about, so I'm not interested because, I don't know, I think they did a pretty sucky job of advertising it, but, yeah.
Although, we should mention this before we forget. Okay, it is true. I believe Microsoft said that they have 15 games prepared for the Xbox, and 8 of them are new games, new franchises, so that is something to be a little bit excited for.
It really all boils down to, are these new franchises any good?
Yeah. And, okay, I think I should just go back to what I said about Nintendo and Microsoft just quickly. Okay, I was probably stepping a little bit far ahead by saying that that Microsoft isn't offering anything, but with all the add-ons that they're throwing into their console, it's really going to make it more expensive, probably more difficult to use, and for the lack of games that you will probably be getting, does it seem worth it? Not really. And I'm not trying to say that the new Xbox won't have any new games. I'm sure that it will. And they'll probably get more games as the years go on, too. But, I mean, you compare that to companies like Nintendo and Sony, who have quite a few more franchises to back themselves up with anyways, and, like, way more than Microsoft has ever had. And the fact that they can get way more, or they can get more, I should say, over time if they wish to, it kind of makes Microsoft seem weak compared to them. And then let's not forget the PC. The PC does everything that a regular console does. It has... Oh, okay.
Sorry, my screensaver went on, but
That's
anyway,
all right.
continue.
It will probably end up having better technical specs in like a couple months. You know, things are going to increase. It's got thousands of games already available for it, so it seems more worth your money. There was one thing that we forgot to mention about the Xbox's tech specs. They said that it's going to have 8 gigabytes of RAM, like the PS4. And
I can't remember how many gigabytes of RAM the PS4 had. I think it was like...
I thought it was 8.
It was either 8 or 6. I can't remember.
Either way, I'm just going to be honest. That doesn't sell the console for me because games... I mean, let's just look at the 360 for a second. You take Perfect Dark Zero and you compare it to Call of Duty Call of Duty Black Ops 2. The graphics changed amazingly over time. Huge difference. 8 gigabytes of RAM, I don't even think that affects the graphics, to be honest with you.
I think RAM is mainly just for processing power.
Yeah, but graphics will develop on their own over time, and we'll talk about that with another game in a second. But yeah, it doesn't do anything for the console other than, I mean, it means that the console can run the 50 bajillion devices that are connected to it. And how many of you gamers actually care about any of that stuff? I mean, if you do, that's cool, but for me, it's just spam. It does nothing. It slows everything down. I like the Wii U because it's nice and direct, and I could even say the same thing for the PS4 in some ways. The PC, in my opinion, is fairly direct. I mean, it's got the option to have all the extra add-ons and stuff that you want, but you can just do gaming, like, straightforward with it. So I like that with the PC. And unfortunately, yeah, that's going to be a problem, I think, with the Xbox One. But yeah, I think we pretty much mentioned all that we could for those games. Was there anything else that we had to mention before the best part of the Microsoft conference?
Yeah. Actually, I will say this. The best part of the Microsoft conference was the controller and the game that we're going to be talking about next. Now, this game that we're going to be talking about, it's nothing really special. It's not, like, when we say it was the best game of the whole conference, it really was the best game of the whole conference, but at the same time, it really isn't saying much because it's not a wow, like, blow you away kind of game.
And it's a multi-plat, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's a multi-platform game. However, they're going to make it a timed exclusive, so that would probably, I think, push the Xbox One sales a little bit more at launch, but I think at the end of the day, like, no offense, guys, but at the end of the day, I think the Xbox One isn't going to sell very well because of lack of software. Mm-hmm. But let's get down to business. Let's talk about this game. So Activision stepped in, and they pretty much kicked Microsoft in the balls and, you know, gave them pretty much something that pretty much, you know, delivers that's actually better than anything they showed at their press conference beside the controller. They showed off Call of Duty Ghosts. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, God, it's Call of Duty. Here we go again.
Or you're saying, yes, it's Call of Duty. Here we go again. So you're one of the two.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what we were thinking. Like I said, it's nothing special. But when it comes to everything that Microsoft showed besides the controller, Call of Duty pretty much took the show. It was
the only thing we were interested in hearing about. That Microsoft put so much emphasis on this multimedia garbage that when we finally heard about Call of Duty, which is a game that we traditionally actually kind of shun, me and Nin10Guy, we were actually quite excited.
Because it was a game.
Well, yeah, it's a game, and it's actually, I'll admit this, okay, we're going to get onto a bit of a Call of Duty tangent. It looks original. Yes, I said it. It looks original compared to Battlefield 4, or as we like to say.
Actually, can I elaborate on my end of the stick here?
You know what? Yeah. You go first.
Okay, it's Call of Duty. I'm not really that excited about it. I mean, I'm totally tired of Call of Duty, so I honestly don't care. about this game that much. I'm not going to buy, like all the stuff that Microsoft showed at their press conference. I'm not going to buy an Xbox One. I have no interest in the Xbox One at all. But as for this Call of Duty game, I will give credit where credit is due. At least Activision is trying to put in something new because they realize that Call of Duty is getting kind of stale, and they kind of need to snap to it and add in some new elements to the gameplay to spice it up.
I think they actually said that on stage. They said that instead of doing on Modern Warfare 4, they wanted to make a new franchise. So I give respect to them.
Or like a new series to the Call of Duty
series. Sorry, yeah, a new series to the franchise, yeah.
Yeah. So what they're doing is, like, they're putting in a new physics engine, so I guess there's new ways to play the game or whatever. I guess new control scheme. They're putting in new textures to the game. Now, that doesn't really excite me that much, but at least they're, trying to do something, a bit different with the graphics to, make it somewhat different. For, like, when you're doing multiplayer, they're actually adding in traps and extra little gimmicks to the levels when you're doing multiplayer. So,
dynamic levels.
So sometimes there's going to be an earthquake, a flood, or sometimes parts of a building are going to topple over and crush people like that.
We actually saw a telephone pole fall over and crush a police car in it, so that was kind of interesting to see.
It adds. I think that kind of adds more to the gameplay experience for the multiplayer because you don't just go around and throw grenades and shoot people to kill people. You can also, outwit your opponents by setting off traps or something like that. So I think that adds a little bit more to the gameplay, but at the end of the day, yes, it's Call of Duty. Yes, it's something I really, honestly, don't really care that much about. But when you boil down to it, it was kind of refreshing to see that was probably at least something to offer, whereas everything else in this whole press conference offered very little. Oh yeah, not to mention that in this Call of Duty game, when you're doing multiplayer, you can customize your character. That is actually kind of cool because, you can create your own character. Yeah. You can design your character your own way. So
can I just pipe in for a second?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I just got to say, as somebody who has played video games, first-person shooters, where you could either customize your character or you could, what's the other one? You could choose from a huge list of original characters, like in the Time Splitters games. This excited me beyond belief. I am actually looking forward to this Call of Duty game because you can't do that with typical first-person shooters, nowadays at least. And comparing it to Battlefield 4, it's a whole lot more. And speaking on that, even the storyline of the new Call of Duty game looks interesting.
I mean, Call of Duty games never really had an interesting storyline to begin with, but let's be honest, it's a war game.
Well, that's true, but to me, they've always been more interesting than what Battlefield is presented. Battlefield is just a very, I haven't played it, so I don't know the full storyline, but it looks like just a generic Iraq war type shooter, and it's so boring. But this game is actually giving you, it feels like some pretty interesting storyline stuff.
In other words, at least they're actually trying.
Yeah. What ticks me off is that, again, the game is going to mostly focus on the US, which I'm so sick of that, but I'll still give them credit for trying to be original, because in the game, you're like in a dilapidated US where the US has been, taken over or something like that. The economy's fallen apart, the military's fallen apart, all that stuff. So, kind of cool. I do like that. But, seriously, Activision, there's not quite 200 other countries across the world. Can you please find one other one to make a Call of Duty series about? Just one? You did it a little bit with Modern Warfare with the Brits. Just, please, do it a bit more.
Yeah.
Everybody loved Price, okay? Everybody. Do something with the Brits again.
Anyway, so I think that's pretty much it. We've pretty much covered up the whole conference. So, do you have any conclusions or anything like that before we end the video?
I'd just like to say, overall, this was a very, very sad announcement conference.
Well, okay, let's be honest. We came in watching this press conference with very low expectations. Like, you know, we were thinking of all the horrible things that could have happened. Like, they could have made this press conference so much better if they just showed off putting the games first, caring more about the gaming community. Oh, maybe making Xbox Live free, because let's be honest, Nintendo and Sony are having their online free and stuff like that, and you know, you're already making a profit off of the you know, the Windows Phone, the Windows operating system, and you're also making profits off of selling hardware and software. So what is the excuse for paying for, like, getting us to pay for online and stuff like that?
And let's be honest, sorry to interrupt, let's be honest about this too. If you have internet, chances are you're paying for that. And if you have, say, a PC to do gaming on, Steam is free, as far as I know. So all you're paying for is your internet. So it's basically the same thing as the Wii or the Wii U and the PS3/PS4.
You know, it's actually kind of ridiculous on the Xbox 360 where you have to pay a monthly fee for online just to use Netflix, which Netflix already has its own monthly fee. But anyway, another thing they could have done to make it better, for God's sake, just do something with Rare.
Everybody wants Rare to do something good. Nobody cares about Kinect Adventures. The only reason it's sold is because the Kinect was bundled with it. That's depressing. Nobody wanted the Kinect. I think most people just want it to be killed off.
Like, for Rare, like, do something with Killer Instinct. Make a new Conker's Bad Fur Day game. Do something with Banjo-Kazooie.
Fix Perfect Dark!
Yeah! But anyway, anything else that we should mention in our conclusion, or?
I just think, overall, yeah, we had low expectations. It could have been worse, but, oh, it could have been so much better. We were actually expecting some games.
You know what? We were actually laughing as we were watching it because it was so embarrassing.
Oh, and when EA came out, I'm just going to finish off with EA because EA, we're so sick and tired of your garbage. Just stop being a company. All they talked about was this great innovation that would be going on. And all this time, all I'm saying, and ladies and gentlemen, you're probably going to say the same thing in 5 years, it's the same thing companies have been doing for decades now, promising all this innovation, and it never came true. Peter Molyneux did the same thing all the time with the Fable games and what have you. It never happened. And it's probably going to be the same thing. Why? Because it's just hype. Because they think that you'll have forgotten about their promises in 5 years, and you'll just move on. Same thing with EA. They're promising this revolutionary gameplay, revolutionary AI. It looks the same as it has always been. So I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, if you're expecting something new, don't hold your breath. I'm almost guaranteeing you it's going to be the same thing it was before, with very little advancement in our technology and nowhere's near meeting the mark that they promised they would meet.
Yeah. Did they mention anything about the always online rumors?
I don't think so. I mean, they promised a lot of connectivity and stuff like that. I don't think they talked about always online. I don't think it will be always online, but I guess we'll find out more in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not interested in this system. I'm not even... you know what? The only good thing this is for me is it saves me money because I have no interest in buying the system, so yay, I get to keep my cash.
I might buy the Xbox One controller and use it on my PC when I get a PC for gaming, but am I actually going to waste money on the Xbox One? At this rate, no. And please, please, ladies and gentlemen, do not waste your money on it either. This is a waste of money at this time. In fact, I recommend don't buy any next-gen console for the time being. I like the Wii U, but I would even recommend don't buy it yet because there still aren't as many games.
You gotta wait until the PS4 and the Wii U start cooking with gas.
Yeah, exactly. Just give it some time, wait until some new games get announced, and save yourself the money. If you really are desperate to buy a new gaming platform, buy a PC. You're guaranteed to have good games on it, good gameplay, and guess what? Although the PS4 is apparently the pinnacle of technology, the PC always is getting better and better tech. The PS4 is going to be stationary. Oh, and actually, okay, I know that we keep finding more things to talk about, but another thing, the new Xbox promised that it would be future-proof. I don't even know.
Bullshit!
No console is future-proof. Nothing is future-proof. You will always find a flaw in it at some point.
If you ever find an Xbox fanboy that says, well, our system is future-proof, laugh in their face.
Just remember, ladies and gentlemen, the red ring, okay? And, like, I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but they're not future-proof. And on the topic of the 360 and future-proofing, I have a 360 and it only red ringed on me once, and after that it worked fine. But now, the disc tray is starting to have problems. And the same thing with my original Xbox. And I don't think the Xbox One has a disc tray, but you'll be guaranteed that by the end...
well, we saw the console, so it has the little crack, the little slot.
But you'll be guaranteed that by the end of its lifetime, there will be some problem or another with it. So no, it's not future-proof.
Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much the end of the video.
Leave your comments and thoughts at the bottom.
And if you want to make a video response, go ahead. So anyway, this is Nin10Guy
and Barry Bobbins
saying take care and see you later.
And if you're a girl gamer, please leave your number.